Was Usher confession. So Naomi Osaka, I believe, has dropped out of not only the French Open, but Wimbledon. She has done it for the same reason she stated before, which was her mental health. And again, people are deriding her. But you know what's interesting, what I find interesting, in my personal life right now, I don't know more black people that I've ever known or met that recently have had. I've never heard so many people in my sphere talk about depression to the extent that they do. I've never heard so many people talk about feeling lost to the extent that they do now. I've never heard so many of my family and friends talk about the potential of committing suicide that they do right now. We are under a great deal of mental strain, and there are a lot of things that you can point to. I don't think there's been a time in this nation's history where we've seen what we've seen. America lost a great number of people, tens, hundreds of thousands of them, in less than a year. People lost their jobs. People lost their homes. People lost their way of life. People lost their way. And the very things that you used to be able to count on for to hold on to your sanity, being able to go to church or to hug your grandmother or to be around family or to distract yourself with a game on TV or to go to a job and busy yourself and forget about your problem or to go out to a bar, all those things were taken away from you. Now, America, it is true, when America gets a cold, black people get pneumonia. If it is true that we died disproportionately, that we lost our jobs disproportionately, that we were evicted disproportionately, it makes sense that we are affected mentally disproportionately. And our only way out is, if you're fortunate enough to have survived, is to trust a nation and a system that has proven untrustworthy. So we find ourselves mentally between a rock and a hard place. And most of people don't have people who look like us. Most people of color do not have the kind of resources that Naomi Osaka does. She could say, I refuse to play in these tournaments for my own well-being. You don't get to do that at your job. You have to go and suck it up if you're lucky to have one. You don't get to do that. You don't get to say to your friends that you're not feeling mentally well. Because a lot of people, and particularly in our situations, will look at that as a negative. I've never seen so many people in such need of help and refusing to access it. What we ask for right now is when we ask for people to see us, we ask for them to see us as human. We ask them we shouldn't die at the hands of these people, or we shouldn't be treated this way, because we are quintessentially human. I wish we knew that about ourselves. I wish that we would try to access the help that we need, because that is all we are. We are human. And I've never seen a time where people who look like me and you needed more help mentally and or were scared to access it. But that's part of the system that we live in. In America, it is easier for a mentally ill person to get a gun than help. And there are situations that we're in right now, and you can often attribute it to people who survived any number of horrific things, that they feel some of these ways. And there's no crying it away. There's no drinking it away or sexing it away or shopping it away. There's no pretending it away. There's only help. There's only help. You have to find a way to access help, or you will do damage to yourself. And I wish one thing further. I wish that we would guard our sanity and our mental the same way we guard our grills and our homes and our jobs and our cars. We would no longer let somebody be at risk to any of those physical possessions. Then we would never let that happen. Then why do we put our mental perspectives, our mental health at risk? You are no more or no less than anybody else. You have been through a tragedy that has taken innumerable amounts of things. You have lost people and places and things, and some of us have even lost parts of ourselves. Do something for yourself that you would do. You wouldn't, if you were in physical pain like that, if you had a broken leg or a broken foot or broken ribs, the pain would let you know that you had to seek help. If your mind is screaming out, your psyche is screaming out, you have an obligation to do the human thing and access help. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the Hughley Show.